All right, so now we're at the stage where we're ready to actually take a look at some code. Now, my approach here is going to be a little different from the earlier demos that I've done. So instead of writing the code, showing you kind of walking you along and talking you through writing the code from the ground up, from scratch, I actually have a finished app here, a finished piece of code here. And I'm just going to give you a tour because at this point, after seeing those earlier demos that I did, hopefully you understand the basic process of setting up an app. Imports at the top, main body in the middle, styling at the bottom, etc. Okay, so now I think we're at the stage where I can kind of jump over all of the nitty-gritty details of just a setup and all the basic syntax, and we can look at a finished app and you can actually see the structure. You understand the structure, so I can point out to you, okay, what's new here? What do you actually need to add to your app in order to add some navigation? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. So right now I'm in my main app.js file, my main app file. And the first thing that I'm going to point out to you that we're going to need to include are some additional import statements. So up here, we have our standard ones. Import React from React, import Vue text from React Native, so our standard imports. Now, we're also going to need to import some additional things to take care of navigation. Okay, so the first one I have here at the very top, and by the way, this one here that I've highlighted, that one has to go at the very top. You can't put it below other ones. Sometimes when you do these imports, in most cases, it doesn't matter what order you do the imports in, but sometimes it does because if you import something before something else and it depends on something else, then you could have some problems. So in this case, I've got to do this one first. This one always has to be the first import statement. Import React-native-gesture-handler. You got to import that one first. Okay, so that one always got to come first. And also there's a few other ones as well. Okay, so if I look at kind of this middle section here, I've got to import a few other components that take care of some other aspects of navigation. So I import navigation container from @React navigation /native, and I import create stack navigator from @React navigation /stack. Okay, so all of that syntax, that kind of, okay, why is there @ there? This one has the curly braces around the names of the imports. Don't worry too much again about those small details. You could get lost in all the details and you could never really get a big picture of the whole thing. Okay, just know that that's how you do it. So I import those two things, those take care of navigation. And then these two here, we've seen these before. So when you import your own custom components into your app, you have these import statements here that pull in the files that you made. So those just pull in the home page and the next page. Okay, so remember those are the two components, home and next page. Those are the two components. You can see them in my components file here on the left, components folder here on the left. Those are the components that just set up each of the two pages. Okay, so I got some new things on the imports. Okay, now on my home screen, I've also got to set up for the navigation. Okay, so one of the things I have to do to set up for the navigation is to set up this. So I have to create what's called a stack navigator. Okay, so the syntax for doing that is how you see in this line here. So I'm going to make a constant called stack. Yeah, actually you could name that whatever you want. I just called it stack because that's kind of the standard name for it. And it's equal to create stack navigator parentheses. Now, whenever you see parentheses, those empty, either empty or stuff inside parentheses, that means you're calling a function. And so we're calling a function to create some kind of navigator object. Okay, so then we have our main body. So here's our, now that's the top, that's the import section. Here's our main body. Okay, now some differences here. Now, of course, we call it app, and then we have a return statement. Okay, but we have some new tags here. We have some new components. So we got that one, navigation container. And then inside navigation container, there's another one called stack.navigator. So you have these two kind of nested tags around everything. Navigation container, and within that you have stack navigator. Okay, and that's you need those components to set up the navigation system again. So those have to be one inside the other in that order, and everything else is inside of that. So that has to surround everything. You can't have anything outside those two tags. Okay, and then within that, you've got two other tags or two other elements, components right there. You have stack screen. You have two stack screen components. And what those are, you can kind of see, if you look at the context, a lot of times you look at some of the stuff inside of it, you can kind of get a sense of what those are. Those are the two screens of your app. So the first one is the home screen, and the name of it is Home. Okay, and you can see that if you look at the emulator here on the right, Home, if you look at the very top, okay, this white bar at the top, Home, notice that, that's what corresponds to that name of the screen is Home. Okay, whereas the second screen is called Next Screen. You can see that. So if I go to the next screen, see how that's up here in the top white bar at the top, Next Screen. Okay, so those two, the names are what you're going to see at the top. And then the component Home and Next Page, those are the names of the components that you imported here. Those are the two components that represent the two separate pages. Okay, so that's how you set up your main page. And these are your two screens in your app. So you can use that as a model, as a basis, and extrapolate. So if your app had, say, 3 screens, you know all you need to do is just put another stack screen inside here. Okay, so you can just kind of extend that and just see how that applies to your situation. Okay, so that's the main app. Okay, in the next video, we'll take a look at the two component apps, but that's the main setup. So in the main app file, you have your special import. So you got that guy right there, the one at the very top. That one always has to go at the top. You got these two here that pull in the navigation components. And then you have this line here, which sets up a stack navigator, what's called a stack navigator. Okay, and then inside your main body, you have the navigation container component and the stack navigator component. Those two are one inside the other, and they surround everything. And then each page of your app is a stack screen. Okay, so that's the setup. And then once you have that, then you just set up your individual screen components, and you're all set. Okay, so in the next one, let's take a look at the individual screen components.